Starting us off at number 10 is the watch. Now this one genuinely freaked me out because everything was just way too coincidental, but let me know if you guys actually believe it or not. So on the listing for this watch, the seller said the watch was owned by a 24-year-old woman called Julie. The watch was a gift from her dad and he gave it to her before he died, saying whenever she wears it, he'll always be looking over her. And she used to basically wear it every single day no matter what she was doing. Like, you know that kind of accessory you only really take off when you're showering? Like that. Either way, one night she left the watch on her nightstand while working and decided to go for a cheeky midnight jog. But she never came back from her jog. Julie ended up getting abducted and killed by a delusional person at around 11:29 p.m. and the watch has actually been stuck on that time since that night. Its batteries are fine, it's not broken, it just doesn't move its hands. Julie's friend took the watch to a medium who confirmed that Julie knows for a fact that if she had been wearing the watch, she would have been safe, and so she just refuses to leave it now. The seller shared that whenever they hold the watch, there's sometimes a really abrupt temperature drop, and at one point they felt freezing in 80-degree weather. And apparently this whole backstory didn't really hold much appeal since it was bought for a whopping $17.5. Talk about cheap. So coming in at number 9 is Joey. Yeah, so this seller literally listed this little boy called Joey on eBay for $100, and I'm like, talk about self-worth and the legality and the humaneness of that. No, I'm kidding, Joey isn't a little boy, it's actually just a vintage teddy bear. Plot twist. The seller wrote that his grandma visited an antique store in San Diego as a teenager and bought this creepy teddy bear. She took it home, named it Joey, and then very quickly started having really horrific nightmares. She'd go to bed with Joey on her bedstand facing one direction, and when she woke up, he'd be facing a completely different direction. And last time I checked, inanimate bears can't move on their own. How does that work? Other instances, she'd leave the room and come back and the bear would have one of his arms in the air, and despite how freaky it was, she never told her parents about it because she didn't want them to throw Joey away. Which honestly, you know, like, fair enough, you start getting attached to creepy cursed bears over time, it happens, can't help it. Either way, time passed, and on the grandma's 90th birthday, she told the seller to take some of her things, including Joey. He put the bear in his room and soon after started having really bad nightmares. We're getting a sense of deja vu here, and he started feeling this constant sensation of being watched all the time. His body parts would move randomly, and at a certain point the seller's kids started crying and begging him to get rid of the bear. He decided to store him in their garage, and then items in the garage would start falling from their shelves and moving out of place. And for all those reasons, the seller refused to have this cursed bear in his house any longer and listed it on eBay, where it was bought for a whopping $180. At number 8 we have Eve. Now Eve is listed on eBay by a Las Vegas based seller, Angel Fire Lights, for $1,666. I love how they could have easily just kept the price at $666, which would have been a lot more creepy, but they were like, you know, nah, I want the extra grand. Either way, Eve is a cursed doll who's said to have a murderous spirit inside of her. The doll itself is extremely pale, she has tied up red hair, and is wearing a very fancy greyish white dress. And she sort of looks old-timey, like she's from the early 1900s. I could be overthinking, but she really does look like that. Anyway, the story goes that human Eve's lover gave her this doll, but then she went on to murder her lover and sister after they ended up falling in love with each other. She then took her own life, and her spirit was doomed to curse this doll forever. Scorned women, you guys, you can't mess with us, honestly. The seller said she can hear broken-hearted cries during the night and that Eve causes the worst migraines. I don't know why you'd include that, since that's just not a great selling point, but sure, like, no one's gonna pay nearly $2,000 for a migraine. I certainly won't. Coming in at number 5 is the photo. Listed by the asylum attic, the historic daguerreotype is apparently cursed by a Victorian man named Martin. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically the first type of photographic process that was invented. So just imagine black and white old creepy men photographed looking like they have something stuck up their. And that's exactly what it is. The seller said they randomly found it hidden in the attic of their house, and kind of entertained by it would bring it out for their guests to look at. The more they did that, the more guests started noticing certain smells that would appear along with the photo. The smell of roses, the scent of cigar smoke, even the musty smell of smoke from a fire. The seller became so curious about the photo that they bought a Ouija board and spoke to the spirit inside. They claimed Martin was quite talkative and playful, but would suddenly become closed closed off at times. Sounds a bit moody to me. Either way, the seller liked Martin so much they moved the painting from the attic and hung it in their living room. After that, items in their house literally started disappearing, and not just moving around, which was happening too. No, just straight up disappearing. They'd hear footsteps in the living room when they were trying to sleep, and these things just started happening more and more that they ended up wanting to sell it. And there we have it. Out you go, Martin, you play too much. At number 4 is the juice container. This one is probably the cutest thing on the list. It's like a little deer carrying a moonshine bottle, but it's obviously not for moonshine, it's for juice or water, and there are a bunch of little cups attached at the bottom. All around, very cute. Anyway, the item was listed by Griffey911NY, and they described it as a donkey juice container, when, like, it is not a donkey from any angle, it's so clearly a deer. The thing looks like exactly like Bambi. Either way, the listing said it randomly fills up with water. The seller inherited it years ago from their grandma, and it's been showing him weird shit all his life. Now, originally, he just assumed his grandma would fill it with water every day, but after she died, he realized it was still happening and no one else was doing it. He's always been skeptical of the jug. I mean, he doesn't find the occurrence scary or anything, he just doesn't get how it happens or why it happens. He has a strong feeling the jug had a big backstory involving it being cursed, since his grandma was really into the occult, but she never trusted him enough to actually tell him the story. Either way, if that's cursed, that's a very good curse to be, like free water for life, unless it's from the baths of hell, then it's not so good. Filling our number 3 slot are the gentleman's shoes. So dolls are up there, and so are shoes apparently. So the seller said he found these black leather shoes at a local thrift store, and when he got home, he realized the shoes had been engraved with the previous owner's name. Curious, the seller decided to search up the name and found the man's obituary. The more he read, the more he found out, and he realized the man had been reported missing and his murdered body was found a month later. Now, here's where it gets weird. Not that that wasn't weird, because it was. As soon as he finished reading the article, his computer randomly shut itself off. Weird, but he brushed it off. But then that night, he had a massive crash in his kitchen and found one of his blackboards just on the floor. Thinking it was a freak accident, he just went back to bed. The next day, he woke up and his son told him the electricity in his room had gone out for 30 minutes, even though the rest of the house was completely fine. He even had 2 Blessed Mother statues, and they were facing different directions even though no one had moved them. He opened his fridge one day and 5 things fell out, even though they were always pushed to the back and never at the edge. So after all that, he was like, these shoes are going? Because my life was completely fine before I bought them? So he ended up listing them on eBay, and they were sold for $125. These are the second cursed shoes on the list now. Ain't nobody got time for that. And finally, at number 1 is the jewelry box. It looks like the most antique jewelry box ever. Like, honestly, who needs a jewelry box that big? It's genuinely massive. I could put clothes in there if I tried. Mine's like 3 dainty glass boxes, but anyway, that's relevant. The seller claims the box used to be owned by a lovely young woman who ended up dying in a horrible plane crash. After she died, her mum kept the box and started hearing bizarre noises coming from what used to be her bedroom. The days went by, she kept hearing it, and finally bringing herself to enter her daughter's room again, she went in to see a full body apparition of her daughter screaming in the middle of the room. Now, she couldn't hear anything the daughter was saying but the hum she'd been hearing for the past few days. The current seller used EVPs to see what was really up, and they reported hearing the words "take me home" and "hello." When they used an EMF, the box triggered even higher ratings. So the box is most definitely cursed by the girl's soul, and I hope whoever buys it knows it's like a buy one get one full screaming ghost girl for free package deal. It should say that somewhere, like a little, like in fine print.
Starting off this countdown, we have the used false teeth. Lord, I don't know why anyone would list this, let alone buy it. But I searched eBay and apparently there's a hot market for false teeth. Specifically, used false teeth. Anyway, this item was listed and sold for £25. Take a look. Why would anyone want those? Are they a collector's item or something? Not only that, but the teeth were listed as well used and in need of a clean. No, sorry. That's where I draw the line. Coming in at number 9, we have William Shatner's kidney stone. You heard me correctly. If you guys are liking this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up because it really helps us out. In 2006, William Shatner passed a kidney stone and put it up for sale on eBay. Okay, like I get that he's a celebrity and all, but who wants a kidney stone? Not me. Even if it was from Harry Styles or someone else. No thank you. Anyways, the stone ended up selling at $15,000. I just wonder where the stone is now. Moving on to number 8, we have the possessed bartender doll. According to this next eBay seller, this doll is possessed and would often move on its own, even when it's got no batteries in it. Apparently, she received this doll along with a number of other haunted items from a friend. The friend had a relative that passed away, and she was a witch that practiced dark magic. In the description of the item, she wrote, "Honestly, it just gives me the creeps, and I don't like the energy it gives off." Yeah, that thing looks creepy AF, but it sold for $90, so someone's got a possessed doll on their hands. In our 7th spot, we have the haunted zombie doll. So, I don't know why anyone would want to buy real haunted or cursed items on eBay. Like, do they have a death wish or something? Anyways, this woman decided to buy a doll on eBay titled the Haunted Zombie Doll. It was labeled as a very active doll. The seller said it's as if she's almost alive. It also came with specific care instructions. It was to be locked away in a silver viewing box. But this girl ignored all that. She intended on having it as a decor piece. Not judging, but I'd say just stick to IKEA decor. So she did what she was not supposed to and took the doll out of the box. And what do you know? The doll repeatedly attacked her, which left her with cuts and bruises on her legs. One night she heard tapping noises downstairs, and when she went to explore, she found the doll on the ground. This continued constantly. Then one night she was sitting on her porch and felt a stinging sensation on her leg. She looked down and she had 3 claw marks on her ankle, not from a raccoon. Every night she would wake up with a new scratch or mark on her body. She then locked the doll back in the box and put it in her basement. But that didn't stop it. The doll would haunt her in her dreams, and sometimes she could hear like an evil laugh and giggle coming from the basement. Now, she eventually resold the doll on eBay, but the haunting didn't stop until she got herself and her home cleansed. In our 6th spot, we have the Dybbuk Box. Yes, this next eBay seller sold a Dybbuk Box. Basically, it's a box that contains a malicious spirit that can and will possess you. So you really don't want to be messing around with these types of things. The box was listed with the warning, "Demonic entity attachment. Do not open." I don't know how eBay lets people sell cursed items. Like, hello, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the haunted cane. In 2004, a 6-year-old boy was convinced that his grandfather's ghost was haunting him. So his mom decided to sell the grandfather's cane on eBay to try and get rid of the ghost. She thought maybe he would go where the cane went. So she listed the cane on eBay and explained her situation. Best business move of her life. The cane sold for $65,000. Seriously, I'm about to go to the thrift store and pick up a bunch of weird items and claim that they're haunted, cause damn, I need that kind of money. Moving on to number 4, we have the haunted painting. In February of 2000, an anonymous seller listed a haunted painting on eBay for auction. It has now grown to be one of the most famous haunted paintings in America. So this painting was created by an artist named Bill Stoneham in 1972. It's of a young boy and female doll standing in front of a glass panel door that have these creepy little ghost children hands pressed on it. And the girl is creepy as heck with hollow dark eyes and a sad face. When the seller listed it on eBay, they said that it was haunting their daughter at night. They went on to say that they set up a motion sensing camera to monitor the painting, and it captured the boy leaving the frame. Now, a lot of people were intrigued by this. In fact, it was purchased and sold by multiple different people. I guess the paranormal activity was too much for them, so they would resell it. In fact, when it was listed on eBay, the buyer had to sign a waiver, saying they weren't responsible as to what happened after the painting was bought. In our 3rd spot, we have the mummified tongue. Yes, this person sold a mummified tongue. In fact, eBay took it down once because they thought it was a real human tongue. But then the seller reposted it and clarified that it was a non-human taxidermy specimen. But still, they didn't say what animal or thing it belonged to. Anyways, the listing read as so. Interesting mummified Dorset tongue in a simple white matted and red textured background shadow box. The tongue is very detailed with taste buds visible. Specimen is correctly preserved and will last indefinitely. Sure to be a great conversation piece, great for your collection. First off, the whole taste buds visible part, TMI. I didn't need to know that. And sure, yeah, great conversation piece. If you own a museum! Not for hanging in your home, but it sold for $51, so clearly someone liked it. In our second spot, we have the ghost in a jar. So if you wanted to, you could buy a ghost. Sounds crazy, but it's true. So according to this seller, back in the early 1980s, while out metal detecting, he came across an old abandoned cemetery. While searching around, his metal detector started going crazy. So he took his shovel and started digging. That's when he came across a rotten wooden box. When he opened it, he found 2 jars. The jars had weird writing and symbols on it. While trying to get the jars out, he dropped one of them and it broke. That's when a black mist seeped out of it. After doing research, he found out that he probably let out someone's spirit or a ghost. The other jar he put up for sale, and you won't believe how much someone bought it for. $50,000. That's insane. For all we know, it could just be a bottle of dirt and not even a real ghost, so. And in our number 1 spot, we have Jeffrey Dahmer's jacket. Okay, this one is absolutely crazy. But this one eBay seller claimed that he owned a jacket that once belonged to serial killer and cannibal Jeffrey Dahmer. According to the seller, he was in the same class as Dahmer at River High in Bath, Ohio. In senior year, the seller was doing a comedy act and needed an army jacket for the sketch. They didn't have one, so Jeffrey loaned him one from his car. After the show, he said for him to keep it. Some even remember Jeffrey wearing that exact jacket. Okay, are we sure that that was one of Jeffrey's jackets, or was it one of his victims? Who knows? But the jacket ended up selling for $150.
Number 10, Han Solo. No, Han Solo did not get possessed. He was the thing doing the possessing. One look at this Stormtrooper toy is already enough to make you feel like it's cursed. Han Solo's lifeless eyes staring out into space are enough to put you on edge. And as much as I thought Harrison Ford was a hottie in the movies, I just can't get past those eyes. So take in its unsettling visual appearance and then the way it apparently haunts the people who own it. The person selling it said that when they came into ownership of the toy, they started experiencing strange and terrifying things. That's because there is apparently a spirit trapped inside the toy who perished in a house fire, his soul coming to possess the Stormtrooper. As a result, anyone who owns the toy will be haunted by hallucinations of a house on fire, and you apparently can't escape it when you go to sleep either. It will reportedly give you nightly nightmares of the man who died screaming while the house around him is engulfed in flames. Number 9, doorknobs. Asylums are often known as being incredibly haunted. This comes from the fact that many people believe ghosts and spirits come around from having a traumatic death or having unfinished business on Earth. With the history of mental health care practices as scary and unethical as it is, it's no wonder that these sort of places are busy with spiritual activity, especially after they've been shut down and abandoned. This seller on eBay had 2 doorknobs that he claimed to have taken from an abandoned asylum that apparently had many reports of strange noises and other paranormal activity taking place. These aren't just nice antique knobs, but instead hold the trauma of angry ghosts who will want to make your home as terrifying and haunted as the asylum they came from. The person who owned them said that doors in their home would often open without cause, and they could hear people's voices when nobody else was there. Number 8, teddy bear. While some haunted items may definitely look the part, being torn up, withered, and maybe having that soulless look in their eyes, there are some possessed artifacts that actually look pretty unassuming. For one, this adorable little teddy bear that I found. His name is Joshua and he's pretty cute, but he also apparently sets off EMF readers and is possessed by an angry, restless spirit. The people selling it found him at an estate sale, and apparently when they held the teddy bear, they immediately started to feel upset, overwhelmed, and anxious. They used a spirit box to try and communicate with whoever was possessing the doll, and it responded that he felt alone, apparently being an old man who had recently passed away and has been unable to come to terms with the fact that they're dead. Because of this, they are apparently trying to latch on to someone to continue their life and not need to accept that they're dead. Number 7. Haunted bra. Let's follow that up with something a little bit weirder. Not a haunted teddy bear, but instead a haunted bra. While possession is a big scary word, it may not always have to be a bad thing, as this item claimed. The person selling this size 32A bra says that it is haunted by a woman who lived a life of many romantic adventures and wild partying. When she died, she somehow attached her spirit to the bra. If you wear the bra, you will find yourself having the same romantic success that she did in her life. It's also said that if you light a candle by the bra, the woman's spirit will appear. And if the candle is red, the woman will possess you and you will have a quote, erotic encounter with the spiritual world. I'm not quite sure exactly what that would be and what it would include, but I'm about to place an Amazon order for a bulk pack of red candles for a totally unrelated reason. Number 6. Anguished man. Haunted paintings are nothing new and have supposedly been around for centuries. So let's take a look at a few that have been put up for sale on eBay and have apparently come to haunt and possess those who own them. The first is called the Anguished Man painting, and it's honestly pretty horrifying. Definitely a man in anguish. The person selling it described it as a haunting paranormal portrait, and yeah, that seems pretty accurate. Here's how the seller described the painting affecting him. Since owning this painting, I have experienced a number of strange paranormal events that cannot be easily explained. These include hearing disembodied footsteps from elsewhere in the house, the sound of birdsong appearing out of the air in the living room, and finally observing a heavy metal door latch lift by itself and the kitchen door open by itself. He goes on to say that this is a great gift for a less than loved one. Number 2. Haunted statue. Next up, we have another artistic piece that is apparently haunted by the restless and angry spirit of its deceased creator. The seller said that this piece was created by a man named William, who worked construction and would spend his spare time making statues out of clay. This specific statue, which is pretty creepy on its own by the way, was made the same day that William passed away in a freak accident on the construction site. When a co-worker later returned to the site, they saw that the statue was still there, so he decided to pick it up and take it home with him. As soon as he got home, strange things started happening. Doors would slam with no explanation, lights would turn on and off, decorations near the statue would be shattered and destroyed, and sometimes the statue would turn around and face different directions. He said he also felt unwell mentally and would sometimes see a strange shadow next to the statue, deciding he needed to be rid of it and putting it on eBay. Related anecdote from my childhood, when I was a kid I had a 2x4 piece of wood that I painted a face on and I named it Steve. And he was absolutely terrifying, so me and my siblings would hide him around the house, like in cupboards and under pillows, in order to freak each other out. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I was a pretty weird kid. Number 1. Haunted dolls. Finally, we get to talk about the haunted dolls that will apparently try to ruin your life and possess you. In researching this video, I went down a rabbit hole and learned that there is an entire market on eBay dedicated to selling dolls that have apparently become the home of various different spirits. They are listed with what kind of spirit is inhabiting them, whether it be a happy one, an angry one, or even one with motherly intentions. The descriptions usually tell stories of where they found the doll, how the spirit died, and what things will happen to people who own it. They are also sometimes stated to be beginner friendly or not beginner friendly, I guess basing that on how much experience you have with dolls with ghosts inside of them. There are just so many of these strange and insane stories that range from terrifying to hilarious that I am actually going to be making a full top 10 video of just haunted eBay dolls, so if you're interested in that, keep your eye out over the next week.